A fire hits the Russian embassy in Dasmariñas village, Makati, Friday night. Authorities are still investigating the incident. The country welcomes a new batch of Pfizer vaccines dedicated for vaccination of minors. All presidential candidates, save for Bongbong Marcos, gathered for the first time in a forum hosted by the KBP. Marcos Jr. apparently scheduled a separate interview with journalist Corina Sanchez, but a political analyst says Filipinos need to hear more of the former senator. And in sports, Asa Miller, the country's lone Beijing Winter Olympian, served as the country's flag bearer in the game's opening for a second time. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know to jumpstart your weekend. I'm Riza Diaz. A fire broke out at the Russian embassy in Barangay Dasmariñas, Makati City on Friday night. In its initial report, the Bureau of Fire Protection said the first alarm hit at 8:25 p.m. and the second at 8:42 p.m. The fire on Acacia Street was declared under control by around 9:30 in the evening and the fire out by 2 in the morning. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the fire. Meanwhile, some 780,000 doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children aged 5 to 11 arrived in the country on Friday night. The Pfizer shots were supposed to be delivered on Thursday night, but was pushed back due to logistical issues. Now, because of this, the start of the vaccination of 5 to 11-year-olds in NCR and Calabarzon was also moved from Friday to Monday, February 7. Around 167,000 children in NCR have already been registered for the vaccination.
This will make such a difference in the lives of all families in the Philippines. It will allow children to eventually get back to face-to-face learning, allow them to play with their friends, and do important socializing.
Gusto ko pong nasiguraduhin ang ating mga magulang na ang mga bakuna pong ito ay ligtas at masusing pinag-aralan ng mga pinakamahusay na scientifico sa buong mundo. Nananawagan kami sa mga magulang na iparehistro niyo na po ang inyong mga anak para sila ay mabigyan ng proteksyon laban sa COVID-19.
Five presidential bets faced off on Friday in a televised forum organized by the Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas to present their platforms. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to the story.
It was the first presidential forum of the 2022 elections with 5 of the top candidates facing off for the first time. The Panata sa Bayan Presidential Forum, organized by the Kapisanan ng mga broadcasters ng Pilipinas, drew out questions on corruption once more.
Senator Pacquiao, matagal na po ang hatol ng Korte Suprema. Ang mag-asawa pong Ferdinand Marcos at Imelda Marcos ay hindi lang magnanakaw kundi mandarambong. Ano po ang maaari niyong gawin na mabawi ang nakaw na yaman ng mga Marcos?
Palakasin po natin yung PCJJ at kailangan ang para sa gobyerno.
Senator Ping Lacson reiterated his promise to stamp out corruption in government.
Sa loob ng unang 100 araw, sisimulan ko ang internal cleansing laban sa mga inept, corrupt, at undisciplined government officials.
He was also confronted about an old issue when he went into hiding for more than a year, following the Dasser Corbito murder case in 2010.
Sinasabi sa jurisprudence, maski hindi ka magpasailalim sa legal sa physical custody, pwede pa rin umandar diyan kung wala akong binayolate.
Meanwhile, Labor leader Calleode de Guzman pushed for his 20% wealth tax on the 500 richest families in the country.
Pero kung hindi papasa ng Congress, ang gagawin natin, gagamitin natin yung People's Initiative na pamamaraan para maaprubahan yung batas na yan.
Vice President Leni Robredo was hounded by a bad internet connection. She later apologized, saying she had only borrowed the office at NAIA since she was flying out afterwards. One of the toughest questions to her was over whether her proposal to keep investigating the pork barrel scam will include her allies.
kasama, hindi kasama, kalaban, kakampi, wala tayong kikilingan. Kasi oras na may kinilingan tayo, magiging failure na lahat.
Among Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno and Senator Manny Pacquiao's top priorities were increasing the budget for housing and education.
We will build 17 world-class regional hospitals.
Talagang libre hanggang pong makatapos kahit anong kurso.
Meanwhile, former Senator Bongbong Marcos skipped the forum, citing a conflict in schedule. He was later found to have sat down in an interview with Corina Sanchez, which his team scheduled. At the end of it, the candidates signed an oath to keep the elections fair and clean. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
Following the KBP's presidential forum, a political analyst expressed his satisfaction with the event, especially with regards to its format. Speaking on the big story, Professor Edmund Tayao said that forums tend to focus more on the candidates as compared to one-on-one interviews. Tayao, however, pointed out that there was not much of a difference in the platforms presented by the 5 presidential candidates.
There were attempts to present specific plans or specific program of action as far as key issues as education, health. But there's not much of a difference other than, of course, the priorities, or the approach that each of the candidate might have thought to be the right way to start the ball rolling.
Tayao, meanwhile, said that he would like to see presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos Jr. join forums or events similar to this. Marcos had declined the KBP's invitation due to a conflict in schedule.
Well, I hope that the next events would allow us to see more of the former senator so that we can actually hear from him some of his thoughts on critical issues, particularly in the case of corruption.
After skipping the KBP forum, presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos Jr. was seen being interviewed by broadcaster Corina Sanchez. Dale De Vera with the report.
On Friday, the hashtag #MarcosDuwagTalaga trended all over social media. This was after presidential aspirant Ferdinand Marcos Jr. decided to skip Panata sa Bayan, the presidential forum. The kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas said it had invited Marcos weeks before the forum. However, his camp had already declined due to a conflict in schedule.
May mga naunang schedules talaga, and as everybody knows, we have shut down our operations for 2 weeks. And have just started entertaining guests and supporters middle of last week.
Rodriguez clarified Marcos Jr. had been attending different fora and interviews. On the day of the KBP forum, Marcos apparently had a one-on-one interview with broadcaster Corina Sanchez. The said interview will be aired on Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV5. But the Rated Corina program clarified it was Marcos Jr.'s team which chose the time and date for the interview. Question now is, will we ever see Marcos in a presidential forum or debate? His camp remains on the fence.
Tingnan natin, if the program is for 1 hour, say for example, and there are 5 invited guests, tigi-ilang minuto sila. And in our own assessment, mas appreciated ng sambayan ng Pilipino na interviewin isa-isa yung mga kumakandidato at bigyan ng sapat na oras magpaliwanag ng kanilang mga opinion o yung kanilang pananaw sa mga bagay na kasalukuyang problema ng ating bansa at bumabagabag sa ating bansa.
For News 5, Dale De Vera, we're One News.
With the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics having officially been opened on Friday night, all eyes were on Phil Am skier Asa Miller, who carried the country's flag during the Parade of Nations. This is the second time that Miller carried the Philippine flag after doing so back in 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. The 21-year-old is set to compete in the men's slalom and giant slalom starting on February 16. Miller is banking on a stronger outing this time around.
I'm very confident in my abilities and where my skiing is at the moment. And so I'm just hoping I can bring out the best of it on those competition days. Very proud, and I can't wait to show off and represent the Philippines.
And that is how the day is shaping up to be. Join us later at 9 in the morning as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.